We know already TCP is a connection-oriented service. So now we have to we have to discuss how such connections can be established and finished after transmission. The idea was TCP provides a reliable service so that the receiver, the application running on the receiver side, get data package error-free in the right order. So establishing a connection helps also for the receiver system and for the sender system to see what are the data exchange during the following communication and what are data already traveling through the internet from a former communication. And same is true if the communication partners want to end a connection, then TCP needs to terminate the connection which were established. But termination can only be done if all the data packets that are sent during the connection have received the receiver. We know this connection is not a physical one, it is a virtual one, it's established by software. So for setting up a connection and for terminating a connection, TCP performs some computation, and this is the so-called three-way handshake. This is performed by TCP to establish a connection. So and let's now consider this three-way handshake in more details. The three-way handshake ensures that both sides, the sender and the receiver, are ready to receive data and that the also to establish a mechanism that they receive the data package in the right order. And the key idea here is to work with so-called sequence numbers. So each package, each succeeding package, each package gets an own sequence number, and the later package gets a new sequence number, so that the receiver can exactly see by means of the sequence number how to bring the packages in the right order. Because we have no physical connection, so it may be that IP transmit a later data package with a higher sequence number earlier than delivers this earlier than a package with a lower sequence number. By means of this, the TCP instance can bring the package in the right order. To see from which point one has to count the packages belonging to one session, to one transmission, in the initial establishment of such connections, the initial sequence numbers need to be communicated. So here is the idea of the three-way handshake for connection establishment. Three-way because there are, you will see, three messages: sender, initiator of a connection, send first message, gets an answer, sends something back, and then the connection is established. The initiator sends to signal the partner he wants to communicate with a special segment. This is a so-called SYN segment. The SYN segment is a signal for the possible receiver that there is someone who wants to establish a connection. Together with this SYN segment, a sequence number, an initial sequence number is sent. And the sequence number, this is the first number from which one the new numbers are generated for the succeeding packages transported over this connection, over this virtual connection. The receiver receives the SYN segment and the sequence number and sends back an acknowledgement. An acknowledgement, he sends a SYN segment, he sends back the sequence number or sequence number +1 so that the initiator can see, yes, the initial sequence number has received in the right way. And then the receiver sends his own sequence number. The number the packets are assigned, succeeding are assigned when sending back to the sender. And then both sides know the initial sequence number, but B is not sure whether A has received the right initial sequence number. And for the correct functioning of TCP, it's needed that both sides exactly have the right initial sequence number. So a third message is necessary from the initiator to the receiver confirming the sequence number Y. Here, to show this in an illustration, we have our sender, we have receiver. Better, for example, to say instead of sender, the initiator of a connection. And then the three-way handshake starts with that A, the sender, sends the SYN segment together with his initial sequence number to count packages that are sent to B, to the receiver. Receiver receives this SYN package and acknowledges the number X, sends back X + 1, and sending its own sequence number Y, and sending this together in a SYN segment back to the sender. Now it's clear the sender A knows receiver is ready for exchanging data by means of TCP. Receiver has received the right initial sequence number, and it remains for the sender to acknowledge the sequence number of the receiver, to acknowledge Y. And when this is done, this three-way handshake, then both sides can start to send packages. The packages are numbered. Each packet gets an own number. The numbering is increasing so that each receiver is able to bring the package in the right order, to find out whether there is some package missing, and to have at the end this reliable, to use this reliable TCP service. This was establishing of a connection. After finishing communication, the connection needs to be terminated. And also here, both sides need to agree to terminate the connection. So also at the end of a communication, a three-way handshake is needed. When we have a look how connections are terminated, we will see that in fact there are 4 messages necessary. Nevertheless, this is also called a three-way handshake. So a three-way handshake for connection termination looks as follows. The initiator sends a special end segment, that's the FIN segment, to the receiver, and this FIN segment contains the end sequence number X, the last package number which is sent over the connection to the receiver. Then the receiver confirms the end sequence number. Now the receiver knows how many packages, up to which package, what is the last package. And then it will not accept more segments. Then on the receiver side, the TCP instance informs the local application that now the connection should be terminated. Then the informed application starts to connect termination on side of the receiver by sending a FIN segment and sending the own end sequence number, the number of the last package that should be sent over this connection to the initiator. And then This was the third step, the third message. And now the sender has to confirm the receipt of this terminating number and has to send back an acknowledgement to the receiver that the receiver understands, yes, also the initiator has seen now that is the communication, the connection is connected, and the initiator knows what is the last package to be sent over this connection.